Security cameras can capture all sorts of footage, and even though they're kinda creepy, having video proof of ghosts, natural disasters, and weird deaths tends to be useful for telling stories y'all wouldn't believe otherwise. Is Queen Elizabeth haunting Windsor Castle almost 2 years after she died? Well, according to a royal superfan who was on the premises as the building is open to the public, the late monarch was apparently captured in some snapshots they had taken. Radar Online reported that the visitors spotted a white flash in their lens while taking photos inside the castle. Kinda similar to an orb. Now they say I'm not a believer in anything beyond the grave, but I don't think there's any arguing with these images. I am fully aware people will say this could be a trick of the lens or a light flash or whatever, but I've looked into it and it's highly unlikely the form of my image is any of that. It's clearly the Queen's spirit and she looks so unsettled. You can tell by the expression on her face. She looks like she's in limbo and lost. They added, I'm a royalist, and it was sad for me to think she is wandering around forever, just dressed in one of the outfits she used to wear on state visits. You can see she's got the old handbag, coat, and hat. I'm stunned I captured this, and it's no wonder she's troubled. Look at the mess her family's in. She used to be the glue that held the institution together, and she now looks anguished over what is happening to it. What do you think? Is the Queen haunting us? This horrifying footage shows the dramatic moment a 100-foot wide sinkhole swallowed up a soccer pitch in just a matter of seconds. So this terrifying video emerged from Illinois in the US, showing just how quickly things can go from being fine to being like a scene from an apocalyptic movie. So in this particular case, 2 perfectly good artificial soccer and football fields were destroyed in just 5 seconds. Nowadays, a crater sits in the middle of Gordon F. Moore Community Park in the city of Alton, but I guess things could have been a lot worse. Fortunately for everybody, the pitches weren't in use, because if they were, anybody within a couple of feet of the sinkhole would not be here today, going off of the sheer ferocity that the floodlight was thrown into the gaping hole. But how does something like this even happen? Also, what is a sinkhole? Like, we've all heard this word. And well, yes, we do know that it is a hole that randomly appears in the ground, or at least it's random to us. I think that's the extent of my knowledge. What about you? So a sinkhole is a depression in the ground that has no natural external surface drainage. Long story short, this just means that when it rains, all the water stays inside the sinkhole and typically drains into the subsurface. And according to the United States Geological Survey, or USGS for short, they're most common in what geologists call karst terrain. These are the regions where the types of rock below the land surface can naturally be dissolved by groundwater circulating through them. So soluble rocks include salt beds, domes, gypsum, limestone, other carbonate rock. So while Florida, for instance, is an area largely underlain by limestone, it's highly susceptible to sinkholes. So when water from rainfall moves down through the soil, these types of rocks begin to dissolve, and that's how we get those underground spaces and caverns. Sinkholes are dramatic because the land usually stays intact for a period of time until the underground spaces just get too big and then all gone. The historic Plaza Resort and Spa on A1 and Seabreeze Boulevard in Daytona Beach has seen a lot of comings and goings, including spring breakers back in the 90s, but some ghostly visitors back in 2013 left a lot of employees kind of spooked. Why? Well, it's simple. They thought the hotel was haunted. This place is well over a century old, and the employees think some former guests might have either returned or never left. Hotel security chief Chris Lankowitz and his staff were watching security monitors when they saw something odd moving through a downstairs bar. They're like, it wasn't dust, wasn't a flashlight, there was nobody on property causing stuff to mess with, other employees. Apparently this apparition moved about, changing sizes, and when a guard went down to check, the ghostly presence was hiding. There was nothing around. And even though the guard couldn't see anything, he felt something. And later, on the security video, the apparition almost took on the shape of a person and then bolted. Employees said there have been strange sightings and sounds from all corners of the hotel, the hallways, the bathrooms, and even hotel rooms. Kinda like room 1111, where a guest apparently fell to his death from a balcony about 7 years before. According to the head of security, he's like, I've had doors held, like you're pulling on a door and the door is not locked, and you walk in and there's nobody in there. So because of the scary activity in the bar and other suspicious activity, a paranormal investigator was supposed to pay the hotel a visit and even stay in one of these supposedly haunted rooms. But sadly, I couldn't find any records of her investigation, so let me know in the comments if you know anything. A homeowner was left stunned when he went onto his home security camera footage after his dog's persistent barking to find a spooky figure outside the home. Retired professional driver Corey Fletcher from Minnesota, USA, was kind of confused when his dog named Diva began barking persistently at the door, which normally indicates somebody's outside. However, when Corey went to check outside his house, he didn't see anything. And he's like, okay, what's my dog barking at? Corey was like, alright, we're gonna do the rational thing. We decided to check the footage, seeing as our the living room window was open and Diva was barking up a storm. Now, according to Corey, Diva never barks at anything unless specifically there is somebody right at the door. So when she barks, they assume there's somebody at the house. But the barking wasn't stopping. When Diva kept making a fuss, Corey was like, okay, let's check the security camera footage. Maybe somebody played Ding Dong Ditch, and he was kind of shocked at what he saw. The footage appears to show a strange, translucent figure walking past his home. And things got spookier when Corey realized that the camera had not picked up any human movement, because when it does that, it kind of circles them to pinpoint. But during this footage, there was no anything, just the silhouette of this strange figure. So Corey was like, when I went looking outside, there was still no one there. But he came back inside and Diva was still intensely looking outside. And that's what made him check the footage. And we don't know if the creature ever went away, but hopefully Diva gets some peace. And finally for today, Canadian tourist Elisa Lam was enjoying a lovely vacation to Los Angeles in the beginning of 2013, having chosen to stay in the infamous Cecil Hotel for its reasonable pricing. Well, she took in the sights, including a trip to the San Diego Zoo, a taping of Conan, all of which she documented on social media. So initially she was assigned a shared room on the hotel's 5th floor, but then her roommates were like, she's kinda weird. So she was moved to a room of her own after 2 days. According to Amy Price, who was the manager of the hotel at the time of Elisa's disappearance, she was leaving notes for her roommates that said go home, go away. She would lock the door, ask for a password. She wasn't doing so well. She contacted her parents in British Columbia daily while traveling, up until the day she went poof. On January 31st of 2013, the day she was scheduled to check out of the hotel, her parents didn't hear from her, and they called the Los Angeles Police Department and made the decision to fly to LA and figure things out. So Katie Orphan, manager of the last bookstore, was the only person who saw Elisa that day, describing her as outgoing, lively, very friendly. She was buying gifts to bring home to her family, and Katie recalled a conversation they had about how heavy certain books would be to carry around for a day. Well, what happened? Police were searching the hotel, well, to the extent that they legally could, and they searched her room. They had dogs go through the building, including the rooftop, but they couldn't find her scent. Since the police didn't have, well, probable cause that any sort of crime had been committed, they couldn't search every room. Well, on February 6th, a week after she had been declared as missing, the police were like, okay, maybe we need to do a bit more. So they posted flyers everywhere. They posted stuff online. They were like, okay folks, help us find this girl. Interest in her disappearance increased on February 13th when the LAPD released security camera footage of her behaving erratically in the hotel elevator on the last day she was seen alive. And that was the footage we have for you today, and it went viral. During the search for her, guests at the hotel began complaining about low water pressure. Some folks were like, why is this water discolored? Also, it really tastes wrong. Well, on the morning of February 19th, Santiago Lopez, a hotel maintenance worker, found her body in one of 4 1,000-gallon tanks located on the roof that provided water to guest rooms, kitchen, coffee shop. And through the open hatch, he sadly saw her body. The tank was drained. It was cut open because apparently its maintenance hatch was too small to accommodate the equipment needed to remove the body, leading a lot of folks to wonder, how did she even get in there? Now, I'm not going to go into any graphic detail because no thank you, and I don't know why that information is even out on the internet. You can look that up yourself, but there's no evidence of anything traumatic, nothing suggesting she took her own life, no force. Toxicology tests showed traces consistent with prescription medication that was found amongst her belongings, and some non-prescription stuff that was kind of common. Now, there was a very small quantity of one substance, but nothing crazy. Poor thing. Well, that's the end of today, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident ookie spooky girly. See ya!